All right, this is the Gene Simmons you know now. Cuddly TV dad, savvy business person, and of course, rock star. But you know, he wasn't always adored. Let's go back to a CBC report from 1974.
They stagger and lurch about the stage as if hell had been taken over by a motorcycle gang in black leather jackets and bat wings. The lyrics, where one can distinguish them, full of homosexual innuendo.
All right, that last part, obviously an interesting observation, but Kiss did freak people out big time, and wow, did it ever pay off. Kiss sold millions of records, toured endlessly, sweating it out in grease paint and leather.
You can probably smell us right now.
But the true story of Kiss goes beyond the music. They're more than a band, they're a brand. Kiss fans can buy t-shirts, comic books, toys, even a Kiss Koffin. The marketing of the band Kiss changed the music business, and the resident genius-slash-showman is Gene.
Never be shy about promoting yourself, because if you are going to, nobody else will.
Now, Gene might breathe fire and spit blood and freak you out with his tongue, but did you know he doesn't smoke, doesn't drink alcohol, nor does he do drugs? He claims he never has. Now, he also claims he does have one notorious weakness. Here's Gene the last time he was on The Hour.
You can even be an ugly son of a bitch like me, and I will have access to your sister and your mommy, too.
Yeah, he says he loves the ladies and he loves to shock, but he's got a total warm and fuzzy side. He's been happily unmarried to Shannon Tweed for more than 20 years. He's seen his son Nick or daughter Sophie on their reality show called Gene Simmons Family Jewels.
Come on, kids, the show's starting. Yeah.
Somebody hit the light.
Hey, everybody, say hello to Gene Simmons. Welcome back. How are you, kind sir?
George, you're a powerful and attractive man.
Well, thank you. But I cannot pull those boots off. Those are wicked.
They are?
I couldn't wear those, though. They wouldn't match my feet.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, speaking of potato chips, on the way here, a few of the fans started doing this, very appreciated. I invented this baby. Whenever you go to any sports team, everything's going on, anywhere around in Zimbabwe, they'll go like this, or they'll go like this, or they'll go like this, but they'll always stick their tongue out. And the story behind that is, in the early 70s, 1870s, of course, we noticed that the fans and the audience, before they even know who we were going nuts, and they were sort of waving, and I was playing. Paul was too into himself, you know. Just, you know, look at my hairy chest, I'm so good looking. I was just trying to see which one I was going to mount that night. The girls. And so I wanted to wave back, but I couldn't, see, because I had a pick in one hand and playing bass in the other. So I'd hold on to the pick and I'd wave, see, over here holding the pick, and you go like that. And they started doing that back. And then the churches and the religious institutions got a hold of it, and it's supposed to be a devil sign. Then, of course, I shut my mouth because I couldn't invent a stupider idea if I wrote it myself. So let's try it with it. And, you know...
saying you invented this?
That's correct. Because of this, holding the thing. And we have the first photos. Roll back when Cro-Magnon first crawled out of the caves. There he is, Gene Simmons going... and you know, of course, when we weren't playing, when we were doing photo sessions, I'd let go of the pick and I would do that. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing, except that it came from Steve Ditko, who created Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And Spider-Man did the fluid thing this way, but his hands were like that, and Doctor Strange did this. May the hoary hosts of Hoggoth... Anyway, I used to read that stuff. So this came originally from a comic book artist, and I started doing that because I'm a comic book geek, and now the world does it. I'm the man.
Well, explain to me then, Gene, why the man, in an era when most record companies struggle to make a living, you want to have some version of a record label with Belinda Stronach. Tell me, first, how did the you and Belinda thing happen?
Well, we have a company called Simmons Abramson Marketing, and Simmons Abramson Marketing, I'm the Simmons of the Abramson. We don't have offices. We hardly have staff. We have one guy who works for us, and yet we move mountains. We are the worldwide branding, marketing entity of the IndyCar series, including the Indy 500. I'm the genius who thought of the I Am Indy campaign, because I love the way I feel when I get behind the wheel. I am Indy. The guy who co-wrote the song with me is a Canadian named Bag, who was signed to my Simmons Records label prior. And we also handled Find.com, lots of big stuff. And we also handled Frank's energy drink, Frank Stronach's energy drink. And therein lies, and we also went to China on some real estate ventures, and Belinda came along with that. So we got to know each other, and we started talking about ventures, real estate, politics, and branding and marketing, and so on and so forth. So when Randy Lennox at Universal here in Toronto,
Good. No second T. That's important.
don't pronounce it wrong, approached me about starting the Simmons Records label, we talked about the mandate, which is signing Canadian acts. I want Toronto to be the new London. Once upon a time, England meant nothing, and then a few bands came out of there, the Stones and the Beatles and so on, and then everybody went to England and Canada, and it became a force rivaling, perhaps surpassing America in bands. There's no reason why you can't do the same thing. You've got cooler cities, more creative. I mean, the land that gave us Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and, you know, the best. Come on!
Actually, so you're looking for 3 bands? Is that what you want to sign?
Well, I already talked with the legal guy for the first new band that's just got me possessed.
Is that the band that I like?
Down with Webster.
I love this band, man.
Now,
Webster.
Down with Webster and the people who love it, including your powerful self, don't really know what's really there. What I'm telling you is that yesterday I had dinner with a group of us and Randy, and I'll spill the cat. There's a reality series that's already been agreed on in principle. This is how we do it. When these guys sign with Simmons Records, they will have the kind of power that no other record company has had. Baby, because I can call God himself and get favors. I'll get this band on a U2 tour. I'll get them licensing and merchandising. They'll have a reality series that's going to pop at the same time that the record and the internet, the masses won't have a clue what hit them. Every time you turn around, you're going to bump into Webster. That's if you sign with me. If you sign with somebody else, get ready to say, would you like some fries with that? Because it'll be over.
Are you going to, now, you are going to do all the...
Stronach.
What?
So Belinda and
Yeah.
I, unbeknownst to me, when I signed...
You have such lovely eyes, Gene. Take your glasses off.
You have such lovely legs. Take your pants off.
Okay. I'll do it. I'll do it.
And so this is an affectation.
Okay, all right.
No, this is an affectation in the same way your earring's an affectation.
Is that what that is?
Well, we don't...
We don't know.
We don't
Can you
know.
give the people a glance at your eyes?
At my eyes? Okay, ready? Where are you? This one?
That one, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done. Okay, you were saying. No, but I want to talk to you about the band's thing, because
Yes.
Down with Webster, will you be involved in the way the bands make the records?
I will be involved in the full facet, the beginning, the middle, and the soup to nuts of it. See, when rock and roll was young, the record companies were actually qualified to do the stuff. They wrote songs, they were in bands themselves, and new artists, the new first generation of rock and roll guys had never done it before. Therefore, they were told how to dance, how to write, how to sing. The songs were found for them. It was a real... And then the English bands came along, the Beatles and so on. They were self-contained. So record companies became the enemy. They were the suits. That's changing. The old Motown ideal was, if you were Berry Gordy, the head of the old Motown machine, you'd find yourself, for instance, and we'd see what you could do. And if you weren't the right thing, then the secretary, Martha Reeves, would be put in front of the microphone, and she would sing Dancing in the Street, although everybody had sung it, and you'd find the right voice and the right performer to match it up with the right song. And I'm here to tell you that I don't care who's a member in your band, if your drummer's a crack addict, I'm going to throw his ass out of the band, because he will suck the life out of every band like a vampire. And you need to get all the losers out of your band now. Don't go through what I went through. I will not allow it.
When you were a young man starting your band, if a record company or the equivalent of you at that time walked up to you and said, Gene, I'm going to take over your career and I'm going to tell you how to do it, how would you have reacted?
Well, they're not Gene Simmons.
But there were people before you, Gene. I'm sure you were inspired by somebody.
There was never anyone like me. What I mean by, I say that half seriously, but I have a marketing company that is fast becoming the most famous one on planet Earth, and I mean that in the real way. We have Gene Simmons Family Jewels, which is seen in 84 countries and is the #1. What are we on here? Much Music? What are we on here?
CBC.
CBC. Yeah. Well, if we
That was a few years ago, Gene.
If we were on Much, then it would be the #1 show here. It's in 84 countries and I don't know how many languages. Season 4 is coming up in March, and Kiss, of course, is celebrating its 35th anniversary, baby. And celebrating 20 times platinum on our newest DVD ideal. So I have Simmons Books, I have Simmons Comics Group. In other words, there is no multifaceted hybrid son of a bitch like Gene Simmons.
Where did that come from? Where you know, because you obviously want to win and you enjoy winning and you do that. So where did that come from? This idea that, you know, I need getting to 20 million sales, 20 million, 20 times platinum, getting to this place. So where does that come from in you?
My mother.
What did she do when you were a kid? Did she say, Gene, always be #1?
She inspires me to this day. She's 83 years old, and I wish she could be a part of your lives. And I hope you love... Oh, I'm going to get all choked up.
Do it.
No. Because you want inspiration, look to your mother. You bet. Don't listen to the self-help gurus and the people stuff, even though I get paid a lot of money to do this stuff myself. Turn around and look at your mom. That's the most inspiration. That's the reason you should go out there and strive. I remember the first $10 million check I ever made, and it came in at one lump $10 million check, and I gave it to my mother, and I said, Mom, look, because, you know, I want my mom to be really proud. And she said in her broken English, wait, hold on a second. And she said in her broken English, wonderful, because that's, you know, she's Hungarian. Wonderful. Tikanis. Kala. That's Greek. Wonderful. Now what are you going to do? That's precisely the point. You did well. Now go on. If you're the fastest human being in the face of the planet, when all the cameras leave and when the girls stop kissing you and you put the award away, are you going to get up the next morning when the sun is just coming up and all by yourself try to break your own record, even though you're the fastest on Earth? The idea is, shouldn't life be about striving? There is no such a thing as winning. There's only doing better than you did before. Because once you give up, you're just waiting to die.
I don't know, but no. Yeah, because when, and I get it, you know, and that's great because it's worked out for you. Fine, just now what are you going to do next? But did she possibly mean money isn't the only thing?
It is.
But it's not, and you know, because I see your show, you don't raise your kids like money is the only thing.
Oh, they'll never get a penny, but that's not...
But you don't raise them like those values. You don't raise them...
That's correct, but money is the gauge. You're an athlete, here are the judges, you'll jump on your heel to do all this kind of stuff, and then when you're done, judges hold up numbers. Well, it's not about numbers. Actually, it is. It's the gauge. It's one gauge of how you do well in life.
And it's a gauge for acceptance, in a sense.
Well, it's a gauge for how the rest of them think you're doing, because they're willing to give you their hard-earned money for what you do. George, look at you. You're here. You're on television, you make a good salary, and the more people want you, the more money they're going to give you. It's a gauge. And it also means that ultimately all of us, politicians, religious leaders, talk show hosts, rock stars, all work for you. You're the ones who determine how much money we make and whether you like us. Ultimately, we're all in the same business. So money is the numbers, it's the gauge. Now, I don't have the accoutrement. Hey, that's French. I don't do the bling bling or the blung blung and stuff, but of course I do it for money. You know, like, here's what I ask you, just hypothetically, and we'll get back to Simmons Records because that's very important. And that is that when we look at the salt of the earth, the people who till the soil, and now that's the salt of the earth. These people go to work every day and pick up our garbage and they build the highways and they don't really like their jobs, but they do it for the salary at the end of the week. In other words, they only do it for the paycheck. Why is that any different than what I do? Like, why the idea that you have to love what you're doing? Who said that? Who says you got to love what you do?
Isn't it
Here's what
better?
you've got to love. No, of course, but you're blessed, you're privileged. You can't just go to planet Earth, okay? Go and pick and love what you do. Who's going to build the highways? Who's going to pick up your garbage? Who's going to do that stuff? Who's going to build the cars that you drive? You know, the rivet, 10 million rivets. That's all that guy does. That's the salt of, those are the ethical, moral, that's the backbone. Most of the people on the face of the planet go to work at jobs they don't necessarily like. The reward is the check at the end of the week by the sweat of your brow in return for, I'm the salt of the earth. I do it for money, baby. That's why the Simmons Records label, I own the trademark. It's the money bag sign.
He owns that Simmons Records. If you're a Canadian band, Gene does want to hear your stuff, so make sure you go find him
That's
online.
not true.
Yes, he does. You want to hear it.
I want you, Canada, listen to me. I love you guys. You have the culture the world should worship. They really should, because you're more civilized, you're nicer. And you should be teaching the world civility, but I'll tell you something even more important than that. That's just a tug of the, you really do have the goods. You really have the most beautiful women, number one. Okay, girls, let me hear. And here's the other thing. You've got the goods. Your artists, your actors, your recording artists, your sports people, they are the best in the world. The only thing that they've been doing wrong, and the only thing you've been doing wrong, is you've allowed them to go someplace else and be taken over by the Americans who treat them better than you did. That's why they go there. I'm going to change that. I'm going to create an infrastructure here where they're going to be treated like they've never been treated before, but also tough love camp. I'm the drill sergeant that's going to make them ready for war. And you will produce a new generation of superstars like the English do. Jagger still lives in England, so does McCartney, someplace in Ireland and England. I'm going to make a new breed of Canadian superstars who won't leave Canada.
Did you go to a Tony Robbins seminar? You nailed it. Gene Simmons, he still wants to hear your bands. We'll be right back with the Tribute to America.